o'clock, and you're listening to me, Shemiza, taking you all the way up to 11 o'clock on where else? It's Inspire FM 105.11, and it's an absolute pleasure to be in your company this morning. We are going live and direct to the wonderful people in Luton surrounding areas and Peterborough's Salam Radio and Sheffield's Link FM. I hope you're well, folks, and having a great start to the week. I hope you've had a relaxing weekend. Goodness me, the weather. The weather was very intriguing, rather muggy and rather humid. I'm so glad the temperature has dropped slightly, a lot more comfortable now. I believe we're heading into autumn, hopefully. You know what? I shouldn't complain. I shouldn't, should I? I shouldn't complain. Alhamdulillah for the weather that we have. And the environment that we live in, unfortunately, it's there has been some very, very shocking and horrendous news regarding Morocco and the earthquake there. They are in our du'as. Please keep them in your du'as as well, and may Allah make it easy on all our brothers and sisters in Morocco. I do believe there is humanitarian aid making its way there. If you've got any updates in regards to what you're doing across the town in order to support the families out there and the communities out there, please do get in touch with us on Inspire FM. Today's show is all about humanitarianism with one extraordinary individual, inshallah, who's going to be joining me via Zoom this morning, who has been on the forefront of humanitarian causes. And mashallah, this brother is a friend of the show. He has been on the show previously, and he's joining me this morning very, very shortly to share his experience of being a humanitarian filmmaker in the debuting it in his book, which I'm going to be sharing very, very shortly with you. I'm really excited to be sharing this experience with you and this wonderful book that he has launched, showcasing his challenges as a humanitarian filmmaker, for us to get an insight to what that world is all about. So if you are a filmmaker, if you are a photographer, if you are interested in documentary making, or you are somebody who's passionate about charity and especially international human relief, then this show is for you. What is this show? This show is the Urban Cube, and it's brought to you by me, Shemiza. I'm taking you all the way up to 11 o'clock this morning. If you have any points or questions that you'd like to ask on the show this morning, feel free to do so on 07779 481 822. The show is going across Facebook this morning too, and you can also listen to us on the app and on the website as well, which is inspirefm.org. And we, as I'd already mentioned, we're going across Luton surrounding areas, Peterborough this morning on Salam Radio and Sheffield's Link FM. Now, we're all, getting out and about this morning because a lot of us have had to do the school drop-off. All the children, I believe, are now back at school. How's that experience, folks? What's it like coming back if you are dropping them and not going to work and coming back home? What does the house feel like? A little bit calm? Are you sat on your sofa enjoying a cuppa? Hopefully listening into the show, because we're all about inspiring you. And the whole purpose of this show is to have creative conversations, inspirational conversations with trailblazing Muslims who are local, national, and international, not just only Muslims, but individuals across our communities who are having impact, making a difference in our lives. Now, as I've already mentioned, the creative conversations are to motivate and inspire. And I gave you a bit of a snippet on who our inspirational guest is, a little bit of his background. I will share with you once again. He's a remarkable individual, and he's definitely trailblazing and across some of the most difficult terrains in the world. He's not just trekking, he's actually documenting them along the way. His passion and commitment and conviction has taken him across the world as a humanitarian filmmaker. Now he's sharing his extraordinary experience across many, many years with some of the leading Muslim charities across the country. And he is joining me this morning. I'm delighted to be joined by no other than artist, author, filmmaker, and humanitarian Matthew Robinson to talk about his debut book launch of 104 in the Shade, Travels of a Humanitarian Filmmaker. And we'll also be discussing his most recent charity trek to the K2 Mountain Base Camp, which is Pakistan's most toughest mountain terrain. It's an absolute pleasure to have brother Matt joining us this morning on the Urban Cube. Assalamu alaikum. How are you, brother, this morning? You should not be nervous considering the challenges you have actually completed. I'm really surprised that you are nervous coming on air and speaking. This is minor compared to what you've been getting up to. MashaAllah. Bless you. Fantastic. And we're going to be talking about that book very shortly. And I'm really excited, and so are our listeners, to hear in, because it's no ordinary book. This is extraordinary. And it's life affirming as well. I want to ask you, firstly, I think we're really quite curious to know, where are you speaking to us from? Hopefully not on a mountaintop. Indeed.
And also just want to say, donate wherever you can, to whoever you can.
Inshallah.
I've seen some stuff online where people have been knocking charities and all that and not making that. People should be saying, don't donate to here, don't donate there. You know, you need to donate to where, if it's your local masjid, if they want to do their own initiative, if it's a big charity, just donate, you know, and don't listen to people who don't donate.
Thank you. Thank you so much for reminding us all. It's about the intention, isn't it? It's about the niyat. I believe a lot of people are a little, I mean, it's okay for people to be conscientious, to do a little bit due diligence. Do you not think? I mean, charities have, you know, some of the charities have been.
Absolutely. And due diligence is important. Some charities take more percentage.
Indeed.
It's not ideal, it's not agreeable.
Mm-hmm.
But from my experience, a charity that may take slightly, you know, I've got my favourite charity.
Let's not be biased here. Indeed, indeed. We're not going to be biased on the show. We're not allowed to do that. Of course.
You need to look at the grant partner. Here's the thing, it's like who plays the other end. Now, if the charity takes bigger percentage, like maybe up to 15%, which is quite a lot, then they engage a grant partner which maybe could take 20-25%. You don't know. You know, or they might take 5%. You don't know. It all depends on the grant partner. And each charity does their due diligence with the grant partner. So a masjid can raise the money, give 100% to the grant partner, it might take 30%. And the quality of what they supply may not be up to standard. So it's a very grey area, and I think it's people need to be very careful about who they.
Indeed, due diligence. Indeed. Due diligence is the key here, and I think it's a lovely and important reminder for people to kind of, you know, be aware of where they're donating. We're not saying don't donate. We're saying be conscientious, and if you want to donate, then please do so. Every penny does count, and it can make a huge difference. And you're very familiar with this, Matt, brother, because, you know, you've been at the forefront or with many charities as a filmmaker, a documentary filmmaker, which you are sharing now your experiences in this extraordinary book, which you're going to be talking about in a moment. But once again, I'm going to ask you, where are you speaking from this morning, Brother Matt? Is it a tent? You know, are you outdoors? Where are you? Because you're not live in the studio and it's a little bit echoey. And I love asking my guests, you know, give us a sense of your location, because, you know, it's a great way of starting the show and getting a feel of, you know, your environment. Wow. That's very to the point. I thought you'd be at home with a coffee, sat on, you know, your sofa. Fantastic. Oh, brilliant. And we just gave them a bit of a plug as well. So it works all round. This is your life, isn't it? You're always on the go. You have such an interesting life. If it's not across mountains, you know, some of the biggest mountains across the world, it's actually sat in making some great documentaries and filmmaking and editing. Please explain to our listeners a little bit of your background, because I mentioned that you are an artist, you're a filmmaker, you're a humanitarian, and then you also mentioned your own charity too, Migration. You're the founder and creative director at Migration Films, is that correct?
Yes, Migration Film and Migration
Mm-hmm.
Review.
How extraordinary.
I don't want to give too much away.
Indeed. And normally you come as a duo. You were a duo on my show last time, and we were talking about you coming back from a trek that you did in Pakistan with the absolutely wonderful, who was she? Let me. Mashallah, mashallah. So it's a little bit strange having you in the studio, well, interviewing you without her. Beautiful. Brilliant. I love this. And the most amazing thing is, folks, for those of you who are listening in, you did your most recent challenging trek with Farah side by side, and you completed it with her and you returned safely back with her. I mean, that's just phenomenal. And we're going to be talking a little bit about that on the show today. And I love, you know, this is what I absolutely love. I love these journeys where husbands and wives are doing challenges together. More for it. But we're going to come back to that after the break. But what we're going to do now is talk about this beautiful, beautiful book. And I'm going to describe it as beautiful because I just think there is no other word to describe it. 104 in the Shade, Travels of a Humanitarian Filmmaker. Wow, that's the title. That's an extraordinary title.
The working title all the way through was Travels of a Humanitarian Filmmaker. And then I was looking at all these other books that what's the one? So I just thought, what was the one thing that tied all of these trips together? And it was the temperature. I have to say, everywhere I've gone, it was actually apart from northern Iraq, at the end of December, northern Iraq, but 104, 40 degrees in the shade, pretty much wherever we went, Bangladesh, Myanmar,
wow.
Pakistan, Somalia, all these countries, it was just hot, very, very hot. Sometimes dry heat, which is more bearable, but other times, like in Bangladesh and Myanmar, 100% humidity, 40 degrees at 8 o'clock in the morning, it's killer.
And now you mentioned a little earlier, you've got about over 25 years of humanitarian or documentary filmmaking. So is this book going back in time, and you're just all the archives of the images that you've been able to collect you've been putting into the book. Tell us a little bit about the journey of the book.
Okay. When I first started this work, so I worked in mainstream film and TV from 1998 until 2016. Things like X Factor, Sugar and Dancing Big Brother, all of the highbrow television programs. But I hit a wall. I was like, I can't do this anymore. It doesn't fit with my face. It doesn't. I just couldn't do it. You know, and I was, you know, I don't really want to go into it, but on my personal life side of things weren't very good either. It was a very difficult time, and I needed to make a change. I spoke to brother at Kingston Thames, and I said I need to find some work in the Muslim sector. I can't do mainstream anymore. And so he came up with this job. He said, I've got a job at Montage above WLICC in West London. And I went and joined, got the job, and took like 75% pay cut. And that was the start of everything. You know, my first trip, I was due to fly out to Greece. There was an aid conference in Greece. And I was like, hang on a second. Well, why are we flying out there when we go with the convoy? So that's what we did. We cancelled the flights, hired a car. Hired the car, had 16 miles on it when we hired it, like 3,000 or something.
Oh, goodness. Wow.
But we drove across Europe and the aid convoy. And just outside of Germany, there's a charity. I hope I'm okay to name them. Is that okay to name them?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
They're called Hope and Aid Direct. They've been running for 30 years. A gentleman called Charles Storer, their motto is phenomenal. It's like it sticks with me today, and it's such a good motto. We take aid of science, which is brilliant. You know, which is what Montana should be. And he said to me, we got to Frankfurt because I had been to a refugee camp before. I don't know whether it came to life. And I conceptually understood what he meant. But it wasn't until 3 days later on the hills of Mount Olympus, which was the Yazidi camp. And yeah, it changed my life forever. Honestly, it's something you see people who are passportless, stateless, homeless. They have no rights. They have nothing. They've lost everything. They've got family members. They have nothing, and they're treated pretty much like cattle. You know, by the host countries generally, and you can't really blame the host countries because let's face it, Greece was in a terrible financial state at the time. They're still hosted with refugees. However, it's terrible to see people living in this state, and it just steals people. Like this is it. This is it. This is what I want to do. This is it. And I was what 40. What is that? 43. Yeah.
Wow. So you had a life-affirming change at the age of 43.
Yes, I'd say so.
That's really quite inspirational, because sometimes we think that, you know, we might be too old, or
No, never too old, Shemiza. That's the thing. That's the key. You're never too old. And on every trip I went on, I thought to myself, I'm going to diary. My intention for that. Every trip, I diary. I never once put pen to paper. Never. Once did I jot anything down, and I was like, I can't believe it. I've been doing this trip. I'll do it the next trip.
what did you want? What did you want to put in the diary, and why did you not log anything? What stopped you from doing that? Exhausted. Bless you. So was it easier to then just take a picture and document it like that, rather than writing it down and putting your emotions on paper?
Yeah, I mean, I lost a lot of photos actually on my Facebook. I had in 2020, someone very kindly put a Islamic State cover on my profile, and it got taken down. My account was taken down. I lost my Instagram, lost everything. But I somehow managed to download everything. I don't know how I managed to do that. I managed to download all the photos before. So, but I lost my account. But literally a couple of years later, I found it. Just when I started
That's crazy. The fact that you're able to find them just before writing the book. I mean, that's a sign in itself. That's amazing. So what lesson would you give to all our listeners regarding their photographs and important documentation? Back them up. Okay. Indeed.
I've got so much stuff backed up from over the years of my film. I've probably got like 5, 6 copies of everything, dotted around in different hard drives. But yeah, I would say back it up.
Indeed. And how many of us listen to that information but don't actually apply it? People, please do. And it's a really good thing to do. So for those folks that have just listened in, you are listening to me, Shemiza, times 1020, and I am joined by the very extraordinary Matt Robinson, who's speaking to us very kindly this morning, all the way in Soho, to talk to us about this extraordinary book. It's his debut book. It's called 104 in the Shade, Travels of a Humanitarian Filmmaker. And he's talking to me this morning all the way to 11 o'clock about it. If you'd like to ask any questions about his experiences, about being a filmmaker, a humanitarian filmmaker, an artist, anything technical, like how to save your files, your photos on a hard drive, then you know what to do. It's 07779 481 822, and I'd be delighted to read out your messages and share them with Matt and all our listeners this morning. Matt, listening to you is just extraordinary, because I was just thinking about some of these experiences that you must have had at the front line with your camera. It must have been so harrowing. How do you step away from these experiences and stay so positive? Because I've met you in person, I've met Farah as well, you've been guest on the show, and you're full of energy, you're full of vibrancy. Yes, I nearly rolled off it with the wonderful hiking group that we went along with. But Matt, how do you do it? What do you do?
I didn't do it because and I feel really involved with the emotions invested. And there was one incident in January 2018 when I went to it for the first time. It was by my son. And I can't really talk about it, so I'm just going to have a cry still. Even this is years later, it still gets me. It gets me every time. There's a woman talking about how her son was murdered in front of her and she was raped by soldiers. And it wasn't the story was harrowing, but it was her telling it and seeing her human reaction. The sobs, I can't even talk about it. But yeah, I had to have counselling. I had to have some counselling. Bad, I'm not going to say the big up Premier Bill, they provided me with counselling. They did the duty of care for me. They really did. And it was about a year and a bit later. I wrote a poem, which is in the book, called Normalization.
Wow.
Talks about the juxtaposition of being in that hot, humid hut on the top of the hill, 40 degrees, sun beating down, her sobbing and crying, telling me the story about her dead kids and husband. And then a couple of hours later, there's me, all of us were in an air-conditioned minibus drinking ice cold water.
Oh, wow. The extreme.
The extreme, and I've been there, I've got my case study, I've got what I needed.
Yes.
And the current length, I don't know where they are, they'll always be there. They'll always be there.
This is, yeah.
It's something that I spoke to a friend of mine. You have to realise that however much you feel for the people, it's an intersection of both of your lives. You are that mouthpiece of the world. You came along after whatever happened has happened, and you say goodbye, and that's it. You have to come on because otherwise
Indeed. course.
subsequently found out on other trips as well.
Of course. But he raised a very, very interesting point, a very poignant point, that you are the voice. You know, what you see, you're making the rest of the world aware that their message or their journey or their struggle needs to be seen, it needs to be heard, and action needs to be taken. So it is a big responsibility, isn't it, on your shoulders in this this profession that came to you. It came to you, it found you, and it's an absolute humbling experience listening to you, and the fact that you'll be sharing this with many of us through this extraordinary book, which we are going to be talking to you in after the break, inshallah.
Continue listening to Inspire FM. Inspire 105.1 FM. सूरज की किरणों से चमके सारे इंस्पायर करती लहरों से महके सारा समा रहे आपके साथ यहाँ और वहाँ ये रेडियो इंस्पायर है
Enjoy quality and tasty 100% authentic halal Chinese and Thai food from Gao Express, brought to you by the team behind Top Pizza in Luton. Choose from all your delicious Chinese and Thai favourites. Then order for delivery or collection from Gao Express in Wellington Street, Luton, Marketplace, Stevenage, and now also on Nightingale Road in Hitchin. Open daily midday till late. Find the number or order online at Gao, that's GAO, express.co.uk, or like Gao Express on Facebook.
Do you have a legal problem? Are you trying to settle a family member? If so, then contact M&K Solicitors. M&K Solicitors are a leading local firm specialising in immigration, family, personal injury, clinical negligence, civil and property law. Our solicitors have over 20 years' experience and are recognised internationally. Our success rate speaks for itself. Take advantage of our free consultations for your first meeting. We also give free advice on Fridays, no appointment needed. That's right, free legal advice. M&K Solicitors. Call 01582 732 503.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم: من يحرم الرفق يحرم الخير. That whoever is deprived of gentleness is deprived of good.
Attention to landlords. क्या आप चाहते हैं कि आपके घर जल्द से जल्द किराया लग जाए और आपकी प्रॉपर्टी 100% देखभाल के साथ साथ किराया भी पर वक्त मिले तो मैरीगोल्ड रेजिडेंशियल से रब्ता कीजिए। मैरीगोल्ड रेजिडेंशियल आप प्रॉपर्टी की खरीदो फरोख्त का काम भी करते हैं। अगर आप अपनी प्रॉपर्टी रेंट पर खरीदना या बेचना चाहते हैं तो आज ही फोन कीजिए 01582 617 617 251 Dinsriver Road, Luton. Terms and conditions apply. Zakat is the third pillar of Islam, and it is a duty and a mission for eligible Muslims to fulfill to help the poor. We at UKIM pass over your zakat to those who need it the most, drawing smiles and changing lives anytime we reach out to those in despair. Your zakat will feed the poor, provide them with decent healthcare, and build homes and schools across the world. Donate today and change people's lives tomorrow. We always want to know how to look after our health, or the health and well-being of our loved ones. We always like to know what are the best exercise to adopt, or we want to know how to access certain health services. We address these and many similar health-related queries and advice in the Health Show with me, Fahad Nadeem, on every Thursday at 6 p.m.
From the studios of Inspire FM, the time is now 10:30. Catch a creative vibe on the Urban Cube with Sister Shemiza.
Good morning and assalamu alaikum. It is 10:30, 11th of September, and you're listening to me, Shemiza, taking all the way up to 11 o'clock. Where else? On Inspire FM, of course. It's the Urban Cube Show, where I'm having creative conversations with inspirational trailblazers who are really making a difference in their field of work. And today's show is no exception. I'm joined by an amazing, extraordinary individual who's really put his art and taken his passion and his conviction and his passion for humanitarian filmmaking to some of the most dangerous points in the world, all for the sake of humanity, in order to make sure that we get to see firsthand of what is happening around the world. And it's just an absolute treat and pleasure to have Brother Matt Robinson joining us on the Urban Cube this morning to talk about his debut book launch of 104 in the Shade Travels of a Humanitarian Filmmaker. It's exactly what it says on the tin, and he's here with me to talk to me a lot more. And my goodness, just speaking to him on the first half of the show has just been really, really inspirational. This book, I believe, is not just a feast for the eyes, but it's also a real emotional connect. You're going to have, I believe, not just pictures, but also narrative and even poetry. Yes, poetry. Matt has even penned some poetry in this book, but I'm sure you want to hear it from the author himself. It's Matt Robinson on the show. Assalamu alaikum, Matt. Thank you so very much for staying with me on the show, and I appreciate that you're actually in an editing suite. I mean, like, wow, what a life, what a life. Nothing keeps you down and nothing keeps you still, but it's been a real pleasure, and I've been quite taken aback, really, honestly, listening into you. There seems to be so much heart and so much compassion with the work that you do, and I do have to say to our listeners, it's not an easy thing to do, because I've actually seen you personally carrying your equipment as well as trekking on some of our notable hikes across the country. To be able to manage physically yourself and the equipment and to concentrate, and these are safe spaces in the UK, what must it be like when, you know, you're out on terrains that are super, super tough and not as easy as the ones that you might experience in the UK, which are still tough?
Okay. There were times I wanted to come home.
Bless you.
The times it was like hell on earth, honestly. I conceptually got it. I watched all these videos, I did the training, I understood how hard it was, and that's the world's toughest highway to keep track. And that's due to the fact that it's on the Voltura Glacier, which is constantly moving and changing, melting, freezing, crevices opening up, cliffs falling over, ice cliffs falling down. It's proper, it's like, as the surfer would say, proper gnarly. It's really like so extreme. And yeah, the concept, I know I've been obsessed by K2 since I was like 13. Documentary filmmaker Julie Tullis perished in Camp 4.
Goodness.
After climbing K2 in 1980 or 87, I can't remember. But she died. I remember seeing the documentary. And then Alison Hargreaves, a mum of two, she perished. She summited in 1994, I think it was, and then she perished on the way down. So for me, it was like the Savage Mountain. I always wanted to go down. I heard anything about K2, I was locked in on it. So to get invited on to do this trek by Muslim charity was like, I was so excited. Honestly, it was like I won the lottery. And then somebody said to me, well, I'd quite like to do that. And I was like, yeah, why not? So anyway, we went on the trek last year, and unfortunately due to numerous factors, including altitude sickness and sickness, our health wasn't good before we went. We were both sick. I'd almost died from COVID 10 months before. managed to, we were turned back at the first camp, basically, the second camp, sorry. So this year was unfinished business, and we had to get there. Now, obviously last year our experience was walking a certain distance on certain terrain. This year was very, very different. This year was like we've got to experience the terror of the rock slides, of the landfalls, of rock falls, of crevices, of ledges where if you slip you're going to go 200 meters down into icy water, and that's it.
Oh, that sounds like fun, Matt. The way.
You know what? It is. For me, yeah, it's great. This is what I realised. Stuff like this, you have to. I think, upon reflection, we should have done Everest Base Camp first because it's easier. It's just a normal path, staying in the houses. You've got the altitude and you've got to trek every day, but it's nothing. We had someone with us who did the Everest Base Camp last year, and she said it was like Everest was a walk in the park with your sunglasses and an ice cream compared to.
Oh my goodness.
Compared to K2. And there were times where it was so hard, I was thinking, if I break my arm, or if I throw myself off the short ledge and break my leg, I could be over for that. That's how tough it was.
And you were carrying your camera, you know, your equipment, because you were documenting it too. I mean, this is the question. Oh, you weren't. So what were you doing?
No, I actually had a porter. I had a porter with me, little guy called Munisir. He was amazing, alhamdulillah. Carried 13 kilos of camera kit every single day, along with his own bag. I would never have got past camp one of that camera kit all the way out there. So he was like my Sony A7S Mark III camera with the lenses, with my drone, tripod. So he carried all of that, and what I carried on like a little sling bag over my shoulder was I had a little DJI Adventure Osmo Adventure 3 camera. They're really good. I also had my DJI Pocket 2, these little portable cameras, which I was filming actuality on. But when it came to we stop it at camp and I do my interviews on the big camera, set the tripod up, get my radio mic, set that up. So it looked beautiful. So that was set in terms of big cameras. But the shots of K2, the shots of the mountains, that was all done with my big camera. But it stayed in the back most of the time. And the thing other than my little portable camera, the thing I use most was the drone, and I have some drone footage you guys will nearly did die for it actually.
The irony, the danger. And I think this is I think what I was trying to get at. It's like, how can you concentrate? You concentrate, you know, you've got to concentrate on where you put your feet, but then you're also trying to concentrate on getting all this imagery. And we've known that individuals, unfortunately, have actually lost their lives capturing that moment just for the gram, right? So here you're doing two things. You're also actually a multitude of things and trying to multitask, but you did it. Alhamdulillah, you did the trek, and massive big congratulations to Farah, your wonderful wife.
That was the hardest thing for me was when we were separated. And we were separated because quite often, you know, you get into when you're trekking, you get into your pace.
Right.
And if I was stopping it, I would always be catching up more often than not from the back because I stop or put the drone up something, and I try and catch everybody up. So when it came to dangerous parts, and we were separated by maybe an hour, what goes through your mind is terrible.
Oh my goodness.
And you worry about the other person. I got sick on one day. I forgot to take one of my Diamox tablets, and this is just before Concordia Base Camp. And as I was walking, it was mid-afternoon. It was like 3 or 4 p.m. The sun was baking hot, and don't forget that you're walking on a glacier, so you've got black ice, you slip. There's crevices, there's rock falls, ice falls. It's really treacherous. And then the ground started concertinaing, and then the horizon started wobbling, and then I couldn't stand up straight.
And you're a tall. Oh my! Hold on. Okay, I interrupted you there. You're a tall fella. Tell everybody how tall you are. 6'3". And what happened to you? You faced.
I kind of would wobble over and fall over sideways, tree falling down. But then, and Farah was like, you have to get a a mule for the last hour.
Oh, wow.
No, I'm gonna walk it. No, I'm not. I was so stubborn and bloody-minded. But he was the seventh time I fell over. I face planted and slapped my cup with like shards of.
Oh my goodness.
And
Wow.
The guys were very, very good check guys.
Mhm.
They're like, they put me on hospital and they gave me ounces of stuck me on a mule, which subsequently threw me.
Yeah, yeah.
You can't write this stuff, honestly.
Yes.
I'm so heavy, this poor tiny little mule with brain, left, right, center, it threw me off. And my foot was caught in the steering wheel, it jumped it back, and I was
Oh my goodness.
rocks with my foot caught in the steering wheel. Alhamdulillah, there was
But did anyone film that? That's what I want to know. Fantastic. Fantastic. For anybody listening in, I'm speaking to Matt Robinson, who has just come back. It's been a couple of weeks from K2 base camp in Pakistan. He went on a trek, and this is one of the biggest mountains in Pakistan. Matt, you're going to kind of fill us in with a few facts there. Matt is just sharing his experience, what he did with his wonderful wife, Farah Subhan. Both of them were guests on my show when they came back from their first experience. They went out again. You can't keep these two still. You know, they went out again. They had to do it again. And mashallah, they got, you know, you really, really achieved your targets. And it's such a pleasure to have you actually joining me this show this morning. They went with Muslim charity K2 Base Camp. I'm going to give them a plug because, mashallah, you know, I've been following the journey of everybody who's been doing this, and so much du'as and love for everybody. But you're also here today to talk about your debut book launch, 104 in the Shade, Travels of a Humanitarian Filmmaker. I want to ask you, have you put any of those experiences on the K2 Base Camp in the book? Can we read about it? And tell me about the... Liking that. I like the way you're doing that. There's a lot more to come yet. That's great. So you're going to be... So it's not stopped you from wanting to do more treks, more hikes. Mm-hmm.
And that was the day I was thinking, what am I doing here? I would never do it again. Paid me. If you paid me £1 million, I would watch that one. So if you paid me, I would never do it again. And I'm never doing it again. But then once I got to the top and started coming down, I'm like, oh, I want to do it again.
Never say never.
Yeah, never say never. I don't know if I will. I mean, I put together a silly, I give myself a really silly target. And that is to climb K2 is by the time I'm 55. I'm 50 now, so I've got 5 years, four and a half years to get my stuff together.
Yes.
So even if I get to Camp 1 or Camp 2, just to attempt to get myself on the mountain. I've no goal to summit it. I doubt I don't manage to do that. But to climb it, so I want to do like rope training courses. I don't know, maybe it's just a flight of fancy.
No, but what you say, you make happen, Matt. If I know you, and if I know Farah, you're going to do this. I know so. Take my word for it. I've said it live on radio for all our listeners. He will do it. Because we need to have we need it featured in the second book. Let's go back to the first book. Where is this book being debuted? Where is the launch? What can we expect?
I joined something called
Mm-hmm.
Which is the UK's most prestigious frontline journalist, humanitarian war correspondent club.
Oh wow!
They've had like Julian Assange, Kube, all sorts of humanitarians, journalists, correspondents, Marie Colvin, who was killed in Syria. All these people have spoken there. So I got in touch with like,
Did you say it in that voice?
No, they were, yeah. So
Wow.
the 19th of September, so it's a week tomorrow. I don't know how many tickets are left. There are tickets on sale on their website.
Right.
But I mean, what would be a panel discussion? And I'll be talking about introducing myself on the book. There will be a couple of other people saying a few words, and then just to keep it interesting. I don't want to be boring people like reading the book. So we've got a panel discussion, and it's been hosted by Rukia Catherine.
Oh yes, I know that name. She's brilliant.
Myself, extreme adventure and ex-soldier Jordan Wiley, MBE.
Right.
He raises money for marathons across the Antarctic and travels across the Atlantic and all that kind of stuff to build schools in places like Somalia, Afghanistan. So he's on the panel. Legendary Akil Ahmed, who was head of religion for BBC Channel 4.
Yes.
But Emmys, he's just come back from Iraq doing his own documentary.
Fantastic.
So he's on the panel.
Brilliant.
My dear brother who wrote Forward, Dr. William Barrow, specialised in
fantastic.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, so we're really got this discussion panel. I'm not going to say that the subject is a lens on humanitarian work, but the question will be obviously based a little bit on my experiences.
That sounds extraordinary and a very exciting and interesting lineup. May I say, I've had. Thank you. I'm really humbled to have been given an invitation. I feel like, oh my gosh, no, thank you so much. I'm really excited to listen to you and to listen to these wonderful, prestigious speakers whom I've had guests on my show, which is brilliant, and to actually understand more about how we in the media can kind of, polish that lens a little bit more on humanitarian work. I think it's definitely a lesson to learn, to listen from, and to observe. So how can people, I mean, you said there's tickets available, so how? Brilliant. Indeed, because this is what I was going to ask you. You've got, both the names on there, and it could be confusing, like who's done the forward, who's written it, who's edited it. It's nice to have them both on there, but it's the same person, folks. And after the book has been, the panel discussion is had, is the book available on the night, and is it available?
By the time we have to do a trip, I've only got 30 books for the night. I've got 30 books on the night.
Okay.
But the rest are coming next month, which is a bit too late for this one. But I'm planning to it's on Amazon, it's on Author House, it's on Barnes and Noble. It's not registered with Waterstone yet, but it will be. But my plans are, not everybody can obviously come to the first book launch. We'll be doing it. So I'm finding another venue somewhere in London, doing a book reading maybe next month. And then I can try to do one in Birmingham and maybe one up in Leeds.
Brilliant.
So it's kind of do a few events.
And maybe in Sheffield and Peterborough, because they're listening and we've got listeners. Yeah, it is. So, oh, of course, you can't not have you here in Luton. We'd love to have you, and fantastic, because it's such an inspiring book. I mean, I'm really excited talking to you about it, and also I can't wait to get a hold of a copy myself. The book is 104 in the Shade, Travels of a Humanitarian Filmmaker, and we have him in the studio this morning. Actually, he's in Soho in an editing suite. I'm in the Inspire FM studio in Luton, but it's an absolute pleasure talking to Matt Robinson about this wonderful experience that he had. He's also shared with us today about him going on the K2 base camp trek with his wonderful wife, Farah. And massive congratulations on getting to the furthest point that you're able to get to with the wonderful trekking group that you went along with. Is there anybody that you want to send a shout out to regarding that trek? And also, you know, how can people get involved with trekking? What tips and advice and guidance can you give?
Okay, first thing I would say is go to a shop. I don't know if I'm allowed to mention it. I don't want to get in trouble. But go to any reputable hiking outdoor shop and get your feet measured before you do anything else.
Mhm.
Proper boots and everything else.
Fantastic.
You're a big trouble. Shout out. So, okay. Shout out. I would like to do, if that's okay.
Go ahead.
First and foremost, if you're here with me, but at least I got to talk a bit more.
She said, oh, he'll be happy. Yeah, he'll be happy. He's got the whole hour to himself. But much love to Farah Subhan. She's just an extraordinary, inspirational sister, artist, mother, wife. So proud of her. Wonderful.
Shout out to everybody on the trek. So obviously there was Islam Rabin, Irfan Majbur, making the best show that we were organising in Pakistan, Isaac Shemi from Sunrise Adventures, then there's obviously Ozzy, Farzana, Baha, Jags, Ismail, Daoud, myself, Farah.
The donkey.
Donkey! Yeah, my camera porter, Shabazz, Yasser, Betty was the chef. Betty was this guy, like very quiet man, like that, built like rock.
Wow.
So this guy's been on a mountain, and he's my chef. But you know, if there was any issues, he was there with a rope over his shoulder ready to help us out.
Fantastic.
So, big shout out to everybody who did it. Shout out to everybody who met on the way and on the way down, because to do this trek, I'll be honest with you, you need to be fit.
Indeed.
It's not something you can just say, oh, you know, Farah and I, we trained a lot. We trained a lot this year, and we were still left wanting a couple of times on this trek.
Mm.
We did it. We managed it. But I would say, if you want to do K2 base camp trek, I would do something else beforehand. It is such a shock to the system.
Of course.
Mm-hmm. But what I'm planning to do something with migration with my charity. We're going to do Mackintosh base camp. So that's a different side. It's the other side of the mountain range from the Voltura Glacier, and it's a 4-day trek. It's not dangerous, and it's a bit easier, a bit more comfortable for people who are starting out. People taste of the altitude.
Mm.
But they're more, obviously still in the country. Yeah.
Brilliant. And I just wanted to clarify, the actual base camp is just at the foothill of the actual mountain, isn't it? Is that just to clarify? Mm-hmm. Mm.
Technically speaking, as far as the trek goes, as far as the general consensus is, technically speaking, K2 base camp starts from where Broadgate finishes.
Okay.
So it could be anywhere from 40 miles to 30 miles. Concordia is where you've got Broad Peak, K2, Gap 1, Gap 2, all these 8,000 feet, so 7,000 feet as well. This is also called K2 base camp Concordia. So technically speaking, it's like we got as far as we could on our schedule. A couple of others to pretty much the base of the mountain, and then came back in and pretty much really full all day.
Wow.
We get to Concordia is
extraordinary. You got there, you all got there safely, you all came back safely, and that's the most important thing. And I'm super, super proud of you all. We are about 20 seconds left to the end of the show. If you're, please do, and your socials. Inshallah. Do you have any socials quickly before we say our salams? Everywhere. It's been such a treat to have you. Thank you so very much, Matt, for joining us. Inshallah, I'm super looking forward to the book launch, and congratulations on this absolutely amazing trek that you did, and congratulations on what a fantastic book as well. Very, very welcome. That is Matt Robinson, filmmaker, humanitarian, artist, author, and inshallah joining you again next week. Hi, this is Shemiza and I want you to keep tuned in to